Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Matthew, and guess what? I'm wearing a little bit of Wolfsburg today. This is a little bit of Wolfsburg. In fact, it's the new Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf GTI. I'm a GTI owner. This is a GTI. Let's take a look around. Now, at the front, there's a few important things that every GTI needs to have. First of all, the GTI badge. There it is in red. Secondly, that red stripe. There we go. It's all across. And actually, if you look at nighttime, underneath, there's a LED light strip that runs across as well. As part of Volkswagen's new brand, we've got that, the new Volkswagen badge. And then, for more GTI-ness, if you like, there's this honeycomb grille all along. Again, another GTI staple. So, it's got all the right ingredients at the front. And of course, as you can tell, it's a lowered Golf, essentially, I guess, if you want to really quantify the GTI in that way. But we've got some nice aggressive aspects along the front, and the same continues around the side. Along the side here, firstly, these wheels, I mean, just look at them. They're the statement GTI diamond cut wheels, as you can see, black with silver accents, hiding those typical red brake calipers, which is another GTI staple. These wheels are 19 inches actually, and the model up you can also get 18 inches, and they are 235 width tires, which is a little bit more than we're used to on the older GTIs. Further down the side, you've got that GTI badge on the side there. That's been a staple ever since the Mark 7, and you've got this nice sort of shoulder line here as part of the typical Golf design language. Nice side skirt down the side here as well, and some more, you'll see some more of this stuff around the back. At the back, there's more typical GTI-ness, if you like. We've got this discrete rear spoiler. We've got the new GTI badge, which used to be on the left side, remember, and now has been moved to the middle. New Volkswagen badge, and new dual chrome exhaust tips, which are real as well, and do sound pretty nice. Well, things that make the exhaust sound nice is of course the engine, so let's take a look under the bonnet now. Now under the bonnet here is actually Volkswagen's ever famous E8888 2-liter turbo engine, which of course fans of the brand know and love, and it's ever tunable, as people have found out. In this particular model, that famous engine produces 242 horsepower, which is about the same as the most advanced Mark 7.5 Golf GTI. But there is a Club Sport version as well, which puts out 296 horsepower. See what I said? There's a lot of different power outputs you can get from this engine. One thing that's really funny under the bonnet here though is the fact that, look at this. It's an actual physical bonnet stand, which I haven't seen in a long time. And even my GTI, which is the Mark 6, has a hydraulic stand. So this is pretty weird. But things that are not weird is actually the interior of the car. So let's jump in there and take a look. Now, the first thing you'll notice about the new interior of this Mark 8 GTI is just simply the quality. Everywhere you touch, I mean, just feel those soft plastics, this nice patterned feature going across there, this sort of highlighted metal line that goes through the air vents, and everything just generally feels so well put together. This is Volkswagen quality. Even in the door panels, I mean, you just pull the handle and everything, it just all feels so well put together, and that's been a staple of the GTI all along, is just how good this interior is. And you'll be happy to know nothing's changed with this new model. Speaking of the GTI, well, a big part of the heritage is these tartan seats, which are now one piece, so the headrest is integrated. You get these nice chunky side bolsters, both top and bottom, and they're actually Alcantara now, which feels quite nice. The tartan pattern itself as well has evolved into a more modern edition, but still looks cool, still very much GTI-like. Down the middle here, what's cool is that, firstly, space for your phone. You can slot it in there into the wireless charger and then close the case. How cool is that? That's to prevent your phone actually going all over the place while you're on the track, because of course GTIs will spend time on the track, right? There's two cup holders in the middle, another space for your phone maybe, and then of course the elephant in the room here, is that there's no actual handbrake, and the gear shifter itself is now this little stubby thing. But don't worry, because it's still got a dual clutch system, which is very good, as I'll show you. More space under the middle there, and frankly all the practicalities are sort of still there. It's still very much a Golf, but essentially with more power, which is why we love the GTI, right? The steering wheel, well, that's got some nice chunky thumb grips there, all covered in leather. You've got Volkswagen's new badge there, and of course the GTI badge down there with a bit of red highlighting in typical GTI fashion. What's new, of course, is all these haptic buttons. So in the middle there on the steering wheel, and of course up here for all the volume controls, air conditioning, and all the different shortcuts. But we've reviewed all those in our normal Mk8 Golf review, so make sure you do click the link above and follow that. But there are a few things here which are different with the GTI. Firstly, this shortcut here, the mode. Now I'll talk you through that in a second. Now in front of the steering wheel here is Volkswagen's new sort of information cluster, if you like. In the middle you've got the rev counter and a big red GTI badge. It also says the gear you're in, and you've got a nice red sort of rev meter that goes all the way up to 8,000. So another typical GTI thing there, if you like. You can see they've really gone with that red and honeycomb grille concept all around, because it's there in all three of the dials. They're outlined in red, and you've got a honeycomb grille sort of look in the middle. The left side, well, you can customize that gauge. So right now I have it set to power, but you can have it set to a whole bunch of other stuff. Same thing with the right side. I've got it set to the speed, and then you can change that as well to a whole bunch of other stuff. The key with this infotainment screen is actually not when you go into vehicle, because it doesn't really let you customize the car much from there. But the key is that when you press this little shortcut there that says mode, now you press that and it'll either allow you to choose from eco, comfort or sport. Sport's obviously the one you want to be in the GTI, and I'll talk you through that in a bit. So Volkswagen's new Mk8 Golf GTI. Firstly, off the bat, what do I think? It's very good, actually. It is very, very good. I just, as you saw me just now, effortlessly move up to 100, and that's what it just does. It handles the motorways so easily. But then what I can do is I can take a left, turn off the motorway, drop it into sport, and away I go. Let's take it for a spot of cornering. It's still, the GTI still puts a smile on my face. Remember, I own one, a Mark 6 GTI actually, and I drive it every day. And frankly, every day it makes the drive feel special somehow. It takes care of the motorway so easily in traffic. The dual clutch gearbox is just fine, and it's frankly much the same with this GTI. As you just saw, I was having a bit of fun in the corners, and you can, because this is an extremely capable car around the corners. That front end just grips so hard, and the differential makes you want to push and push and push and keep going, and it just feels like it has no limit. And that's just the magic of the GTI, because underneath it all, remember that this is a Golf, which is why we love it so much. The practicalities, the storage, the comfort, everything that the Golf does, the GTI does better. And I think that's really even more pronounced with this Mk8 model. Admittedly, I am not the biggest fan of the new infotainment screen. It is a little bit difficult to use when you're driving. And funny story, if you notice the car is quite dirty, well, that's because I entered in a destination to navigation, a destination of a little town actually, and the navigation system took me down some back roads, down some gravelly roads, and I ended up, frankly, I think in somebody's backyard. But I don't know where I ended up. All I know is I was lost. So I finally had to resort to my phone once I was back in signal. So that's a little story of why the car is actually so dirty. Apart from that, I can't find any faults with the infotainment system itself. It's very simply laid out, very easy to use. There's plenty of red around, which is exactly what you want in a GTI. And there is actually plenty of red around altogether. I mean, the seats are outlined in it, the steering wheel, the dashboard in front of me, everything has a bit of a red outline to it, which is cool because it is a GTI and it's got that special heritage to it, which is why someone like me loves it so much. Though I will say this one thing, is that I drove to pick up this GTI in my GTI. Frankly, I've actually lost count of how many times I've said GTI today, but I'll probably say it a few more times. Anyway, I drove my GTI to pick up this one, and when I hopped into this one, I'll say that I've driven, the Mark 5 and I've been in the Mark 7, and all of them, all those three, the 5, 6 and 7, have some sort of similarities to them in terms of the seating and the way everything is laid out. The screen, for example, is underneath the aircon vents and so on and so forth. But this Mark 8 is really different in that sense. When I sat down, well, these tartan seats seem very familiar, which of course I love. And the steering wheel with the flat bottom and everything, again, familiarity there. But looking in front of me, that gauge cluster with the new dials laid out, that was a big change from the GTIs that I've been used to. And similarly with the infotainment screen and the way everything is laid out, make no mistake, this Mark 8 Golf has been a big departure from the previous Mark 7. But as we know, change isn't actually always bad. It can be very good, and you never know until you try, right? And certainly Volkswagen have given it a good strong go, and I've got to say that it's worked out just fine. And this Mark 8 GTI, this is frankly just a normal GTI if there was such a thing. It's not even the Club Sport. It's not an edition 50 or edition 55 or whatever. It's just the bog standard GTI, and my gosh, it's good. It does, however, feel a little bit removed from the road in the corners. This electronic steering wheel doesn't give you so much feel as, say, previous generation electronic steering wheels, but I guess just the way technology rolls. In saying that, it does give you a really good, I guess it does boost your confidence in terms of really taking corners, because you can just drop a couple of gears just like this and then go for it. And admittedly, I'm not the greatest of drivers, and even I can really push this GTI hard. And that's what's special about hot hatches, is that the fact that you can take them to their limits on normal back roads just like this. And that's what's special about the GTI. That's why there's so many of them around, and that's why there has been 8 generations over those 50 years. Because when people say, oh, I don't like the Golf GTI, or the Golf GTI is good, that's what's important. It's decisive. It makes people either hate it or love it, and that's something special about the GTI. And it's something that it's done so well since 1974, or well, rather since the mid-1970s when the first Mark 1 GTI came out. It set the benchmark for hot hatches, and every new generation has simply just raised that benchmark even further. What can I say? Golf GTI, well, Mark 8, Mark 6, Mark 1, whatever. I still love them, and I still very much love this GTI. It's so good. So there you have it. A GTI owner's perspective on the new Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf GTI. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and give us a like. And of course, who knows what we'll be in next week. But whatever it is, we'll make it exciting for you. See you then.